Hey there, Eric here. So today I'll be going over the topic of standardized tests. But first, some recent news. As you guys may have heard, the SAT subject tests and the essay section were both removed. Now, in my opinion, I think this was going to happen sooner or later, and the pandemic was just a way to speed up the process. And why I think this is because when I personally prepared myself for the SAT, we didn't really focus that much on the essay section, and mainly focused on the English and writing sections. And also when I applied to colleges, my college counselor told me that, you don't really have to worry about the essay section and just mainly worry about the score. And then for SAT subject tests, they're pretty similar to AP tests, so I think that makes them kind of redundant. And also some past news from last year, what is that the UCs weren't considering SAT or ACT scores. Now for SAT or ACT, there's 3 ways that I can think of that you can prepare for them. The first one is the Bootcamp. This is an expensive option, but it's really good for people who can't self-study. And you can kind of view it like summer school, but might cost around $2,000 to $3,000. Now the second way is online practice. This is free, and I'd say Khan Academy is probably the best resource to grind out practice problems. But the thing is, it takes a lot of self-discipline to study. So my friends who took this route, they're very self-motivated, and they could just sit in their room like for 2 months during summer and just study for the SAT. So if you're this type of person, you should go this route. Now the third way is study prep books. So these are really good resource because they have a lot of good practice tests, and they're not too expensive, and I consider them a bit more of an official resource. And if you can't afford, to buy a study prep book, your school will probably have a lot of them in their library, or even if you go to the public library, they might have some that you can borrow. So for my personal experience, I actually used all 3. I started with the SAT Bootcamp, and then after I finished, I grinded out online practice in Khan Academy, and I also did a practice test in the study prep books. And I got a 1550 on the SAT, which is pretty good, I'd say. And then because I got that on my first try, I decided not to retake it, and also I decided not to take the ACT. Now for PSAT, it's basically the same thing as SAT. In fact, a lot of SAT bootcamps will have an extension for a PSAT. So if the SAT bootcamp costs around $3,000, I'd say the extension is maybe around $1,000. And the thing is, if you do well on the SAT, you'll probably do well on the PSAT because a lot of the practice you do is very similar between both tests. So my personal experience is that because I used the SAT bootcamp and I also practiced for the SAT through Khan Academy and using the study prep books, I didn't really study too much for the PSAT. I might have done a few online tests that were specific for the PSAT, but other than that, I didn't do too much extra practice because I already practiced for the past 3 or 4 months before I took the PSAT. And I got a 1480, which qualified me for national merit. And I ended up getting national merit finalist the next year. Now, my opinion on the overall trend of standardized tests is I feel like colleges are dropping them, as you can see with the UCs and also with the removal of the essay section and the subject tests. And also, with the complaint, and I'm pretty sure it's proven that high SAT scores correlate with economic wealth or economic income. So what I think is they don't matter as much, but they still do. And what I mean by this is that, for example, if you're applying to UCs or CSUs, you probably don't have to worry about it because they don't accept these standardized tests other than APs. But if you're aiming for, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, the Ivies, or the top 20 schools, they will still look at these scores. Because the thing is, these scores are a way for you to distinguish yourself against the competition. But the thing is, the overall trend is a lot more emphasis on experiences such as leadership, volunteering, winning competitions over just the pure numbers, such as the grades and standardized tests. So If you enjoyed watching this video and learned something new, please like and subscribe, and feel free to contact me on Instagram if you have any questions.